All right, now we're on paragraph Gimel in this beautiful Maimer Tafshin Beis. And Uptown Hall, by the way, I've been showing everybody, I think, the wrong book. Anyway, it's Tafshin Beit. Here it is. Tafshin Beit. All right, it's not nice to learn. Ours is one of the few yeshivas where you can laugh at the teacher with no repercussions online. But as soon as this video finishes, okay. Gimel. Zeu, that's what it means. Avram. That's why it says that the attribute of Abraham's kindness was greater than God's kindness. Here it calls it by a Kabbalistic name, Chesed of Atzilut. Atzilut is what's called the dimension of godliness, pure godliness. There's Atzilut, and below that is Bria. That's called the dimension of creation. So the world, the dimension of reality, which is called creation, Bria. That's where souls are. And then there's the lower dimension, which is called the Yetzirah. That's where the angels are mostly. And then there's the world of Asiya. That's the world of interaction. We'll talk about other Maimorim, but here Atzilut is another name for God. So the kindness of Abraham was greater than the kindness of God. And it says that the kindness of God, Chesed of Atzilut, complained in front of God and said, since Abraham is here, I haven't got anything to do. Now, at first glance, if you think about this does not make any sense whatsoever. I mean, Abraham did not enliven the world. He didn't keep the sun going around in the sky. He didn't create people. That's the kindness of God. The kindness of God is creating us. Another word for kindness is also love. The kindness of God that he's creating. Now, Abraham didn't create anything. He didn't keep anything alive. How can it possibly say that Abraham's kindness was greater than God's kindness? It's written in a book called Sefer HaBahir. So the answer is like this. Why did God make the world? Why did God make the world? He made the world so that people would fix it up. That's what he made the world for. He made the world purposely. Asher bora Elokim lasot. God made the world so that people would fix the world up. And we see that we've done a pretty terrible job of it up to now. I mean, the world is in not such a good state. But in order for people to fix the world up the way God wants them to fix it up, not the way all these other, right, Karl Marx or whatever it is wants you to fix it up. Right? Everybody has their own theories about how you fix it up, and religions and philosophies and ideas and etc. And now the most popular one is that you don't have to fix up anything. You just do what you want to, and you live and you die, and that's it, like a squirrel or something. But in order, if you get the idea that you really want to fix the world up, you have to fix the world up. So it has to be done according to some sort of a pattern, of a reason. You have to have a reason. Oh, so the pattern of how to fix the world up is good. Very good. Okay, so the reason. So it says first of all, you have the person, in order to correct the world, in order to correct whatever, he has to have a little bit of a feeling of what God is. So how does God give everybody a feeling of what he is? A feeling of his goodness? He has his emotions. God has a personality. That's one of the big messages of the Torah. God has a personality. God reacts to what we do. That's basic Kabbalistic idea. Basic Kabbalah. That God reacts to what we do. And that's part of God's kindness. When we say, God, please help us, please save this person, please. So God shows his kindness. So it says in this, there's this paragraph that we say, which is the introduction to the Zohar, Tikkuni Zohar. It says that God, you made 10 spheros in order, the Ishtamudan, that people should know you. In other words, when people know God, then they have a little bit of an idea of how to copy God. And it says, "V'alachta b'darachav." You have to go in God's ways. You have to make yourself similar to God as much as possible. So you have to feel godliness. How do you feel godliness? Look, see a beautiful sunset. Look, see all the birds that are being created by God. Look, all the animals that are created by God. Right? So amazing, so beautiful, so much life. Look at the rivers. Look at the trees. Right? Kindness. God's kindness is just everywhere. And that inspires us. That's why one of the reasons God created the world, we should be inspired by God's greatness, inspired by God's goodness. We should be then when we're inspired by God's goodness, then we can be good too. Well, Abraham did a better job inspiring people about God's goodness than God himself did. Right? You can look at a beautiful sunset, you can look at a beautiful this, and you can think, why is it so hot outside? The sun is just driving me crazy. I don't get, right? That's there's too much X-ray. Look, I see there's the hole in the ozone. We have to have climate change. The world is going to burn up. The sky is falling. Right? There's
no labels on it made by God.
Right? No labels. Very good. No labels. But by Abraham, you go and you see a human being, and he's acting this unusually kind way, giving things away, helping people. Think, what is with this guy? He's got some sort of ulterior motive. It's probably some sort of religion where if you do good, you go to heaven. You get in good with God, with the Great Spirit or something. And then they look and they see, no, this man is really genuinely, good. He's really genuinely good. Why? Because ask, why are you doing this? It's because I got a creator. My creator is creating me. What have you got? What have you got? What are you getting from it? What am I getting? Look, see what I'm getting. I'm alive. I'm a human being. I'm conserved God. That's the biggest gift there is of all. Right? Well, what about when you die? We don't even talk about it. When I die, I won't be able to do good anymore. The worst thing in the world to die. Who wants to die? You're going to go to heaven. Who cares? Who cares about heaven? I want to be in this world to do what God wants. People say, listen, this guy is either totally nuts or he is showing us some sort of a new program that we've never seen before. And people started to realize, oh, listen, maybe there's a God that's really good, this God of Abraham. And that's why we say in our prayers, Elokei Avraham, the God of Abraham. Yitzchak did the same thing, and Yaakov did the same thing. They felt God. So they did a job of advertising Hashem. It says Abraham advertised God better than God himself did. Let's look and say, the Levad Zot, not only that, Ma'ashem Midat HaChesed, the aspect of kindness, the Atzilut of Atzilut, the kindness of God, who or Netzal, this is light, which is just emitted from God automatically. Umidat HaChesed Avram, and the Chesed of Avram is the power of the level of the soul. A soul has choice. A soul can be affected by the world. The neshama, that a soul, he lamayla mibid regas anetzalim shalamayla. First of all, the Abraham, the soul, the level of God's kindness as it comes into this world. This is relevant to the creation. And the kindness which comes from Abraham, this is something higher than the creation. That's why it wasn't affected by the creation. That's why nothing in the world could affect God, could affect Abraham good. Sometimes the people don't do good, like in the generation of the flood, right? People went against God. So God said, you're going to feel my wrath. But Abraham never showed his wrath. Abraham never showed his anger at people. So Abraham's kindness was higher, came from a higher source than the level of kindness that God shows into the world. Not only that, this kindness of Atzilut, the Raim, it came also to bad people. Not only that, not only when God gives good, His love, His goodness to bad people. Right? How did Stalin live? What's his name? Mao Zedong. How did these people live? They killed millions of people. Evil in its incarnated. And this is being created by God all the time. Why? Because God is kind. God gives to everything. God just gives. If so, when God gives good, it doesn't encourage people to improve themselves, ela adarabah, but exactly the opposite. Gormim lahem, it causes to them yurida Rahman al descent, God forbid. Umidechi al dechi, a person can go from lower to lower, do all sorts of sins, God will still keep you alive. If you keep doing more sins, you could, who knows what, become the president of the United States. We just had a couple of them. Just like we see Machus clearly, but even b'nei adam in the natures of people, the kasher mitparnasim b'tzimtzum, when people make a very small living, right? People live from hand to mouth, o afilu b'revach lefi arkam, or even if people make a living, but according to what they do, according to their work. Hine az, then shomrim Torah v'mitzvahs, they keep Torah and mitzvahs. And they do proper conduct. They see they work hard, they get paid according to what they work. And then they decide, maybe I'll be around people who learn Torah, Yirei Elokim, and people that fear God. They're not looking for extras. But if a person all of a sudden his business takes off and he is given tremendous success, Ba'ashirus, and he's rich, B'harchava, and in a very wide, bountiful way, Hine, behold, as then Midrachkim, see here we are, here, Midrachkim, then they go far, Misaviva shel b'nei Torah, they keep away from people who learn Torah, V'yirei Elokim, V'tafesh kechelev libam, and it says that their heart becomes what is it? Slick or covered with fat. Their hearts. Tepesh also means become foolish. Tepesh bechelev libam says that their heart becomes like foolish with fat. The person becomes so heavy with fat. Umitkarvim lekofrim, and they come closer and closer to people who totally deny God. Uporkim, and people who just throw away any sort of obligation. Umizman lezman, sometimes road yordim midechi al dechi, and sometimes they can go further and further and further down to the point where they become maniacs, total egotists. The Rebbe brought up a sikha. It was shocking. I think I brought this about with what's his name, Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes, that he died. He was a multi-billionaire, and he died a complete hermit, afraid of the whole world. He wouldn't go out of his room. He had his urine checked every 10 minutes or something like that. Howard Hughes, famous guy.
No, I know from the movie. He had been sad with his family.
Could be.
And I only know the movie.
Right.
In the movie, he was actually quite a doer.
Oh, sure. But yes, he was.
But he then suffered like a mental breakdown.
But his success, nevertheless.
He was always kind of a simple guy. At least according to the movie. He drove a simple car, drove simple clothes, even when he was in control.
Could be. But the Rebbe said that his condition would have been alleviated if he would have given charity.
Was it the charity?
That's what he said. Dechi al dechi. Shebetechila, that in the beginning, I mean, I don't want to dwell on him. I have nothing against the man personally. I don't know him personally. It's just that the Rebbe said, and he didn't call him a bad person. He didn't say a bad person, but just the fact that he thought about himself all the time. He didn't give. Listen, it could be a cure for what's it called? What is it called when a person is he thinks he's being pursued? Paranoia, right? Who knows?
I think I was in one of his wills.
Shebetechila, in the beginning, over in Rock, all the Zehiros, the Gedorim, the Sayagim, the Isser, the Heter. In the beginning, when a person becomes rich, not according to his own work, a person gets a big inheritance, becomes rich, what happens is he thinks, listen, maybe I'm God, I can do whatever I want. At first, he starts to think, why should I be limited? Kulos, and a person decides to all of a sudden look for the most lenient ways to do things. ונכשלים גם בייסורים כמו בכעין שוגג. That becomes sort of becomes accidental, right? Accidental things he does, not such a big deal. He works closer and closer and closer to Shabbat, and the food that he eats is less and less and less kosher, until finally he says, listen, in the house we eat kosher, but out on the streets, and etc. Until Asher Nase Azipanim, until he becomes what's called brazen-faced. Umetzach, the ovrim al isurim gemorim. So the person really starts doing things that are completely forbidden. Now you have to remember what's going on. The Rebbe wrote this in America. He had come to America just 2 years earlier, previous to that. This is 1942. In Europe, it was still an acceptable thing to be a religious Jew. It was an acceptable thing to be a religious Jew. There were a lot of, who knows, to this day, I don't know if anybody really knows, I guess what percentage of Jews were religious, ultra-Orthodox, Chassidim and Litaim and things like that, and which were not. But I'm sure it was, somewhere around 50-50. Somewhere around 50-50, maybe a bigger percent were non-religious. But still, in Europe, it was an acceptable thing for a person to go around in the streets even with a beard. In America, it was not an acceptable thing. And in America, people didn't go in the streets with beards. You didn't
They do.
Now they do. Now it's different. But in Europe, it was not accepted. In America, people didn't go in the streets with a kippah, but you didn't show your Judaism, and you were accepted. You were accepted, right? In Europe, no matter what you did, you weren't accepted. It didn't make any difference. There were some people that wanted to be accepted more. So they became Reform, they became Bundes, they became whatever they became. They got communists, and they became connected with this party, with that party. They left Judaism. The thing was when the Rebbe, previous Rebbe, was in Poland, right when the war was just breaking out. He was in the Germans started bombing, and he was in he said there were Jews there of all sorts of different types, and a lot of them were not religious. And the previous Rebbe, as soon as a bomb came really close, that all of them, even the most anti-religious, they all screamed out Shema Yisrael. So Judaism was sort of fresh over there in Europe. But the Rebbe saw also the process that it took that people became non-religious. Maybe in Europe it was more ideological, but it came to America also was ideological. Money. The idea of money, of making money, of getting along with everybody else, of living an easy life, living a life where nobody looked at you, nobody cared about you. You were just a person, like they're saying now in America that in America there's supposed to be no difference in color. Color doesn't make any difference. It should be. That's the way it was in America. Maybe the blacks weren't accepted in America. I'm sure they weren't accepted in America. It was not such a right because they looked different. You could see they looked different, but Jews could make themselves look not different. They could look like everybody else, and then they would be accepted. And that's what they did. But you have to find a job. So people, especially in America, you had a chance to make money. You could get an American, you could make money, and you could make a nice house. And there were people that really got successful. It says those people that really got successful, those were the ones who really went against Hashem. It wasn't so ideological anymore, right? In Europe, there was all the ideologies, Zionism, and whatever it is. There was Mendelssohn, people like that. We're going to be like everybody, a Jew in your house and a man in the streets. Yehudi bebeitecha, Adam betzeitecha. There are all these sort of slogans and ideas, and people were attracted by the vibrance of communism and the logic of Bundism and all these wonderful ideas that they had there. In America, it was Geld. But shoot, people came to America, they wanted money, and they made money, and all of a sudden you felt like a human being, right? And it says the more that these people made money, the more they felt that the main thing is to be a human being, to be human. And the conservative Judaism opened up, etc. Right? Little by little, and people just left Judaism totally. I remember my friends that I had, and they still felt bad if there was an intermarriage. Their son married a non-Jewish girl. They felt bad, but they didn't. They danced with the, the bride's mother danced with the groom's father. Judaism was there, but it was like sort of an appendix, a tail or something. It's left.
When I was a kid, it was really rare with the Jewish guy traditions. Really rare.
Yeah, it was rare. But in college, it wasn't rare anymore. In college, it was rare, but it started. This is the 60s. It started already, the melting pot. The melting pot. And people felt bad that they felt Jewish. They felt bad. What do I care who my daughter marries? But they couldn't figure out exactly what was going on. Grandpa already didn't complain. Grandpa was already not religious, right? There are a lot of stories like that. Okay, there was the one story where what was the story? A young man becomes religious, and a young man becomes a Baal Tshuva. This was like a few years ago, and there's the wedding, and his parents are totally not religious. And his parents they're against the whole thing. They don't want his son to be religious. But anyway, he did it, got chopped up by Chabad or some other group, got caught up, and he got married to a religious girl. So they made a religious wedding. So the father is there, he's sort of this, he's got no kippah on. I guess he has to put something on. The grandfather asks if he can speak. So the grandfather stands up. And the grandfather wears a little kippah on his head, a little sort of, he has a little, and he says, I want to tell you a story. He said in Europe, there was a boy that he was really a troublemaker, a big troublemaker in school. And he did a lot of bad things. They kicked him out a lot of times. And finally, one time they kicked him out of school. He stuffed a goat in the teacher's room or something like that. And anyway, whatever he did, and so they found him, and the principal got called. The principal and said, "That's it, you're out." So he said to the principal, "Listen, you're right. You got to kick me out. But I want you to know something. If you kick me out, you're kicking out all of my relatives also. My children that'll be born." The principal says, "Do me a favor. You're such a terrible kid. What do I care about you? It's better." You should get kicked out. All these other kids said, "You're making a bad example." So I'll tell you what, I promise I won't make any trouble. Just let me go through the school. A religious school. It was a religious school, a Hebrew school. So just let me go through and I won't make any more trouble, and that's it. You won't hear anymore. So he said, okay. So the teacher let him go through. And the principal said, all right, you maybe got a point. If I kick you out, I'm going to kick out you won't have any connection to Judaism. Who knows what's going to happen? So she said this boy went out, and he always had a little bit of a connection to Judaism, somehow or other. He kept Shabbos or whatever. And miraculously, he found a Jewish woman, and he married a Jewish woman. And they had children. His son, just like he was, 10% of his father observant of Judaism, his son was 10% of him, namely 0. He had a bris milah, and that's about it. So his son decides from Europe, he's getting out of here, he's going to America. So this man said to his son, listen, I can't ask anything from you, just do me a favor. Just promise me you'll marry a Jewish girl. So his son says, leave me alone. Promise me, I'm your father. I'm not asking for anything else. Only one thing, you marry a Jewish girl. He says, okay. The son goes to America, becomes a successful businessman, and miraculously, double miracle, he finds a Jewish girl. He's totally non-religious, nothing whatsoever. And his wife is also totally non-religious. He finds a Jewish girl. And against all odds, finds it. And there was born to them a boy. Of course, the boy was brought up in a totally non-religious atmosphere, being like everybody else. But miraculously, this boy became a Baal Tshuva. And who is that boy? That boy is my grandson that's getting married today. He says, so you see how important it was that principle, that he was convinced by me, that if he would have kicked me out, so I would have been 0 religious, my son would have been 10% of me religious, and his son would have been 10%. Who knows what he would have had, a bris milah, who knows what he would have. And so the point of the matter is that, it's so easy just to not be religious. What's the problem? You don't. There's no way scientifically of telling which day is Shabbat. There's no way telling scientifically if you remember to put on tefillin or you didn't put on tefillin this day. So he misses 1 day, so he misses 2 days, he misses 5 days. All of a sudden he misses a year, he misses 2 years. He realized he didn't miss nothing. What did he miss? The days just went by. It was like everybody else. He's still alive. He's still. Says the Rebbe, what is it? Because his heart becomes covered over. He becomes covered over. Why? Because as soon as you start thinking that Judaism is just a religion, it's a ritual, it's a nice thing, it's a club, it's an identity, it's our heritage, then it's nothing. But as soon as you start to feel like Abraham, that God is really real, and I don't care what I get, even if the whole world is against me, and even if I go to hell, it doesn't make any difference. I'm talking about what I do right now. What is really real right now? Right? Really real right now. So that's Abraham. And not only did Abraham believe in God, but he was kind. He wanted other people to believe also. He wanted other people to feel. Why? Because God is creating us. That's the point. He's creating us. You have to have and faith to believe this. But he's creating us, and he gives us responsibility. And that's why Abraham was against the idolatry and things, because idolatry, it takes away your responsibility. All you have to do is bow down to this frog or whatever you do, and then that's it. I did my duty.
Isn't that the idea
duty free,
of
like they say, duty free. Huh?
Isn't that the idea of Avodah Zarah?
Yes, that's Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah means you're serving yourself. Essentially, that's what it means. You're doing everything for yourself. I'm doing this, I'm going to go to heaven. I'm doing this, I'm going to get good. You're doing this.
But isn't that falsehood?
That's false. Of course it's false. But it's very easy. It's fun to be false.
But it's not the right way.
Not the right way.
There are better ways to have fun.
Yes, they are. That's right. Taking drugs and being addicted to videos and things like that it's also false, but it feels good.
People up for the sake of being people up. Some people don't do it for self-defense. They be bullies because it feels good.
Right, that's right. Of course. That's right. Good example. Okay, let's go. Says Abraham. So says the Rebbe, a lot of people, what happens is they get a little bit of money, and all of a sudden, they start me'izin paneim. First word on the line is me'izin. Me'izin paneim. Here. Me'izin paneim. And they become chutzpah. And say, Kochi ba'otzim yadi oseli asachayal hazeh. You want to know where my riches came from? It came from me. I'm a good businessman. I'm shrewd. I, big capital I. Umidgaim, and they become, how you say, egotistical, proud, haughty. Ba'ashram, with their money. Ubamatzavam, and their condition. Hachomri, ad asher shatu b'shamayim piyem. They put to heaven their mouths. L'daber gavoa gavoa, speak high, b'inyanim she'en lem shul kol musag. All of a sudden they start talking about what the Torah is and what the commandments are. Ki anashim pshutim, because really they're very simple people. V'atumi moach, their minds are closed. Asher ein binos lahem, they have no understanding whatsoever. V'rak asher al pi gezerah, remember there was a person, doesn't make any difference. He spoke against Lubavitcher Rebbe, this great tzaddik in Israel, Rabbi Yisrael. Right, this person considered himself to be a big Rosh Yeshiva, whatever, and this Rabbi Yisrael, a big Moroccan tzaddik. He said that person is a fly with no wings. That person to speak against Lubavitcher Rebbe is a fly with no wings. What does he know? How does he know? He knows that he's got 10,000 pupils, so he thinks he's the greatest person in the world, so he can speak against anybody he wants to. Right? So he has his type of richness. Other people, their richness is money. The guy looks at himself in the mirror. I'll tell you one more story, and there's a good story. Once there was a Chassid, and he was a very simple person, very good-hearted person, helped people. And one day, a tzaddik gave him a blessing that he would be rich. He would be rich. And sure enough, it came out that this person became rich. Right? His businesses succeeded. He started buying more businesses and investing more businesses. And finally, he lived on this main street of the little town. And he bought up all the houses next to him, and he built himself a nice big mansion. And he was buying up businesses and became richer and richer and richer. And he bought And as he became more and more rich, as he didn't have time to give out charity, and he was afraid to also go on the streets. He was afraid maybe somebody would attack him. So he had his men go out and give charity. And eventually finally it got around to this one day a week where he would give charity and only a very small amount. So one day the big tzaddik, this is like 10 years later, this big tzaddik comes back, the one who gave him the blessing. And he knocks on the door, and the person opens up the door. He says, "I'm sorry, today is not the day for giving charity." And the tzaddik just walks in. He says, "Excuse me, sir, you can't." But he doesn't want to grab hold of him. It's an old man. He looks venerable. He says, "Excuse me, sir," but he just walks right in. He says, "Where is the owner?" He says, "I don't think he wants to be disturbed right now." He calls out, "Mr. Groisboich, where are you? Groisboich." So he says, "Oh, here I am. What did you want?" Oh, he sees the tzaddik coming in. He says, "Oh, there you are. Oh, yes, tzaddik." He says, "I see you have a nice big house." He says, "Yeah, yes, sure. What happened to your beard? The beard. Well, it was, I wonder what your tzitzis. You have tzitzis on? Yeah, it's a little bit. Did you remember to pray today?" And, I do it once in a while. I'm very busy. I'm a very busy person. What about charity? You're giving charity? He says, "Oh, yeah, sure. My door is open once a week." And he says, "Can I take a look around the house?" He says, "Oh, yes, come. Look, see this chandelier. I got this from France. And see this beautiful table. This is hand carved from Romania. See this beautiful mirror. This mirror I got it from Germany." He says, "Oh, mirror, very nice." He says, "What's the back? It's coated with silver." With silver. So he sees that this big mirror is like against one wall of his thing where the windows used to be. Instead he made windows on the other side. Big nice windows on the top of the house. He said, "Very nice." The big tzaddik takes out a little pen knife that he's got. And he opens it up and he goes around to the back of the mirror and starts scratching. He says, "Excuse me, that'll wreck the mirror if you do it. It's a very expensive mirror. I spent like tens of thousands of dollars." He just scratching the mirror. He says, "Excuse me, but that's gold, that's silver. It's silver. It'll be very expensive. Just scratching the mirror." He says, "Can I ask you what you're doing? What you're doing?" He's ashamed. He doesn't want to grab hold of him. He scratches the mirror, and he says, "Listen, if you scratch it, it's not going to work." He says, "Do me a favor." He says to the rich man, "Look over here where I didn't scratch. What do you see?" He says, "Look, I see myself. It works." He says, "Well, look over here where I scratched. What do you see?" He says, "You scratched it away, so I can't see anything. I can't see." He says, "But what do you see?" He says, "Well, I look, I see where it was, the window." He says, "Well, what do you see through the window?" He looks, he says, I see the street, but it used to be." He says, "What do you see in the street?" He says, "Oh, I see Zelda, the washing woman. Oh, she looks really old. She looks really this. What else do you see?" He says, "Oh, I see the family. Look at this. The kids. Oh, those are the orphans. I heard that their mother passed away a while ago. What do you see over there? Oh, I see this. Wow, that's the Sam the banker. Look at him. He looks crippled. He looks like he's in a..." He says, "See, because you had all the silver, all you see is yourself. You scratch away the silver, you can see other people. So I think maybe it's time to take away all the silver that you've got so you can see other people." He says, No. I promise I'll give charity. I'll be a different person." He says, "Move the mirror away from the window. See the window. Go out. Help other people. Come back to the Hashem who created you. You can't see yourself. You can't even see your creator. Only yourself is all you can see." You're right 100%. That shows that sometimes a person, his success can blind him so that all he does is see himself. All he does is look at himself. Okay. So says the Rebbe, what can happen if a person does not take the attitude of Abraham? As it could be that his success goes to his head and it goes to his heart. All of a sudden a person becomes the smartest person in the world in his own eyes. And these people go in the freedom of their heart to get pleasure from everything in the world. And they are like animals. And they work only in the necessities of their body. I remember I used to be, when I was in university, so I used to have bands, I used to play. So I played one time, they invited me to a house party, a big house party. It was a big, nice big house. Ann Arbor, the University of Michigan. And I started playing. It was late at night. I was playing, and all of a sudden these people are doing these really weird things. It wasn't really anything, it didn't get to any deeply licentious things, but it was pretty bizarre, So I remember saying, these people, they're doing such strange things, what are these? I said, who are the, that's the professor of this department, that's the professor of this department, that's the professor of this, some guy sitting naked in the middle of the floor in the lotus position, like this. Who's that? That's the professor, the sociologist, whatever. I thought to myself, you see these people, they're like really getting into it. They really enjoy it. This is like the real man comes out, the real human being comes out. I thought to myself, this is it. This is the goal. This is the goal. These people are like, they're writing books and they're authors and they're standing in front of, people. And it's like two different people, Well, I thought this is something wrong here. There's something really crooked over here. This is their pleasure. This is their pleasure. And it was like the implications of it was that this is not our pleasure. This is only the preamble. This is just a preparation. For our pleasure, we don't need you playing music. The music, that's just the beginning of the night. So I would play like 12 o'clock in the night, and then I would just leave. I still remember, I thought this is, and this is what they're looking forward to. People, they like pleasure. They want pleasure. And the more pleasure, the better. So this guy likes this type of pleasure. This guy likes type. So he tries until he finds this type of pleasure, this type of pleasure. But kol tainug olam, and they're like animals. Litasek only in matters of the body. But kavod meduma, an imaginary honor. Oh, I am so important. Everybody claps for me. The eno ola badatam, and they don't think at all. Asher kol oshram. That all of their riches, ma'afehu, asher bin laila, that their whole, it's like nothing. And in one night, yabed call, they can lose everything. Beli yisharlo gam saruch nal, they won't even be left at a shoelace. Masha'en came, and that's what it was. This Viktor Frankl, he writes, Professor Viktor Frankl, that he was in Auschwitz. He said the people that lived, good lives and they were rich, they took they couldn't survive in the camps. They couldn't survive in the camps because they couldn't get back to reality. They were just so used to having everything they needed and everything, a good, comfortable life. But as soon as things became not comfortable, they didn't know what to do. All of a sudden, in 1 second, everything was gone. God forbid, never think this should happen like that today. But today, there's the stock market fell. People jumped out of windows. Right? People, all of a sudden, they lose all their money. It happens. Masha'en came midas chesed Avram Avinu, which is not the case of the kindness of Abraham. The shagam he mashpia tov, even though that Abraham gave good. So what do we see? Sometimes when people get blessings from God, it is to their benefit. The blessings of God destroy them, which is not the case of Abraham, that even when he gave good, gam l'roim, even to bad people, and he did give good to bad people, Kamola told him like he gave to the good people, right? He made this in and invited everybody in. Natan lafshol mamish lihitpalel ba'ad rishonim. He would give his soul to pray even for the bad people. Vechatayim, and the sinners of Sodom and Amorah. We see in the Torah that Abraham prayed, please God, save the people of Sodom. Maybe there's 50 tzaddikim saved, maybe 45, maybe 40, maybe this. Save the towns of Sodom and Amorah, terrible, vicious, evil people. And Abraham prayed, maybe there's some good inside of them. Maybe they could be saved. A very difficult thing when you meet people only to look for the good inside of them. Tremendous effort has to be put into that. To go to people and not let the bad of people get you, emotional. Very difficult. To look at everybody in the world and only see the good in them, and to try to bring the good out. It's a thing that's, you have to be a doctor for everybody. Everybody that comes in front of you, right? If the person is good. But to try to see the good in everybody, that's what Abraham did. Even in Sodom and Amorah, Abraham prayed for them. Not only did he pray for the bad people that they should they should repent and do good. But even more, the very good that he gave them, noten koach ba'oz, it gave power and strength, barayim, in the evil people, asher hem atzmam, that they themselves, yafchu liot tovim, that they would be good. It says the people that got from Job, it says, people would get the story of Job. So Job, it says, was also tremendously kind. It says a person that had a coin from Job would be blessed. It was a blessing. To get something from Abraham, it was a blessing. Like the Rebbe gave out dollars, a blessing. There's people I know right to this day. There's people that I know today. I go in the street and put tefillin on people on Fridays. People show me, look, I've got $1 from the Rebbe. Keeps it in his wallet all the time. He felt this, there is good in the world. There is something good in the world. Right? This person gave me $1, gave me a blessing, and he knows, I could see that he knows who I am. He knows who I am. Right? But also he knows what I can be. The potential inside of him. It brings out the potential in everything. That was Abraham. Shekol zehu lefi she'avodat Avram oyeta la'atik et atzmo. Because what did Abraham do? What we're supposed to do. He removed himself mikol inyanim gashmim, from his connection to every physical thing in the world. Not that he wasn't rich. Avram became tremendously rich in the end. But the richness had no effect on him whatsoever. He was not connected to it. Everything he used only for what God wants us to use, what the Creator wants us to do with his creation. And again, you can't stress it enough. God is creating everything constantly. And everything is being created for a purpose. It's our job, the job of every human being, to try to use it for its purpose as much as possible. To think, at least to pray. God, please let me use everything for the ultimate good. Every human being, every child is a blessing. Every coin is a miracle. We have money, it's a miracle. And as soon as you think, no, the money comes from me, it comes from my work. Yeah, where does your work come from? It comes from me. Where did your energy come from? From me. Right? Where does your intelligence come from? From me. It really, yeah, it doesn't. That's what it says. Vayal Avram Mitzrayim. That's what it says, that Abraham came up from Egypt. Ta'aliyat Avram, the going up of Abraham. Hu sha'ala mehametzarim. Abraham came from Mitzrayim, means a place, a country. But it also means Metzarim, means limitations, narrowness. V'hagvulim, and the limitations of this world. Right? When a person is selfish, what happens? He only sees himself. The world becomes very funnel vision. What do they call it? Myopic, nearsighted. He can only see himself and everything. What's there in this for me? But as soon as he starts to see other people, like the story I just made with the mirror, as soon as he starts to see others, then all of a sudden he becomes free from himself. He becomes like God. That's what God does. God gives. He gives life. He gives goodness. He gives life. He gives creation. He gives food. He provides for everything in the world. Says that's what Abraham did. Abraham left Egypt, Mitzrayim, Meitzarim, the limitations of the world. Even though that it's true that nature is godliness. Avhu elokut mustar. The creation, yes, is godliness. God is making everything. But he's making everything in the world that we can't see that there's a creator. And we can't see that there's any purpose to the creation. That God concealed himself in nature. True, everything says that's one of the reasons why it says that God created the world from speech. Speech. God, the world is coming from speech. Speech is a thing that seems to be separate from the speaker. You can hear albums of music, of cantors, of orchestras, people that performed 100 years ago. You can hear them perform. Right? There's albums that you can hear, and it sounds like right now. Sounds like right now in the room. Right? In other words, it could be the world. It seems that the world is God's word that he spoke 1,000 years ago, 1 billion years ago, 1 trillion years ago. Right? It could be God said it a long time ago. The fact of the matter is God is speaking constantly, and His word is constantly creating the world. But we don't see that. It looks like if there is such a thing as God, that He created it. He created it a long time ago. Once in a while He looks in. That's the narrative of the Bible. Created the world, and once in a while He peeks in. Right? When things get out of hand, He makes a flood. Right? But the fact of the matter is not. And that's what Abraham realized. That God is creating everything every second, and God is peaking all the time. And where is He peaking from? From every single atom, from every single being. Impossible to comprehend. We're talking about the Creator. That the Creator cares. But and Avram his skill. But Avram thought and realized and understood lahakir et ha'emet, to recognize the truth. The truth. Let's see, 1 second. Here we go. Read truth. Here you go. Here's the last page also. Shehateva, that nature. Last page. 1 minute. Don't get about it. Here it is. Here. This is the. Oh, you have it? Shehateva atzmo, that nature itself, hu elokus, is godliness. That there's a creator, and that the creator creates everything, and he creates everything from, if you want to call it, himself. It's not a sort of very, how do you say, crass thing to say, but everything is created from godliness. Ba'az, then, niglalo elokus, he started realizing that there's a God. And Allah, and he went midrega ledarga, from level to level, ad until shabana mizbeach l'Hashem anira, until he built an altar to the God that appeared to him, shu makar la'almin disgalin, which is the source of the worlds. Abraham realized that there's all sorts of worlds. Abraham realized that there's all sorts of visions. The people around him were spiritual people. They all had idols. They were worshiping idols. It's not like today where people say there's no such thing as God. There's no spiritual. You just live your life and, life is but a dream. They said, no, life is really good. And you want your life to succeed, you have to offer up incense to the snake god, to the, whatever it is, to the god of the cats or something like that. Like the Egyptians, like the Hindus. Right? They have all these gods and sub-gods and the other gods. And then there's a big God that's over all these gods. But it's all for me. Suddenly Abraham realized that, 1 second, there's a God that's creating everything all the time, and he cares. And he cares. And that all this caring of God and love of God is hidden in every detail of nature. So first of all, he realizes there's a God that creates nature, including the spiritual nature. He's the source of all the worlds. V'zeu dalias Avram, that Avram went up from Egypt. Sha'al Yadei Yetzirah, he came out, he left, Me'amitzorim, from the limitations, V'gavulim, and the boundaries of Inyan Olam Hazeh, of this world, Liot Holech V'Nosea, Negba, going to the south, which is the aspect of kindness, as we will talk about more, God willing, tomorrow.